The desert stretched endlessly, waves of heat rising from the cracked iron sands. The twin suns hung low in the sky, burning orange and red over the horizon, casting long shadows across the dunes. Jonas' tempered Calder wiped sweat from his brow as he rode his old, sturdy hoverhorse along the rough terrain. He had been wandering these frontier lands for months now, carrying little more than his worn satchel, his weathered rifle, and a stubborn sense of survival. Jonas had always been a man of quiet thought. A former rancher, he knew how to handle harsh conditions, whether they were sun-scorched fields on Earth or alien deserts on New Sonora. Life had taught him patience, but it had also taught him how to act fast when danger appeared. And danger, Jonas knew, could appear in the blink of an eye. The distant rumble of machines made him pause. He squinted against the harsh sunlight, hand instinctively tightening around the reins. Dust swirled ahead in a small cloud. At first, he thought it was a sandstorm, but the movements were too controlled, too deliberate. Someone, or something, was out there. As he crested a ridge, Jonas saw it, a transport pod, half buried in the sand, smoke curling from its broken engines. The pod's outer shell was scorched, metal warped, and standing near it were two young women, one crouched low, holding a strange, glowing device. The other clutched a small energy weapon that buzzed softly in the heat. They were not helpless, but their movements were tense, careful, like dancers avoiding unseen traps. Jonas felt the hairs on his neck rise. He had learned to read danger long ago. Something was wrong. From the sand behind them, small mechanical drones began to emerge. They were odd shapes, like spider-like machines with sharp, jagged limbs, their sensors glowing red. They moved with purpose, approaching the women with alarming speed. Without thinking twice, Jonas spurred his hoverhorse forward. The women barely had time to glance up before he fired a warning shot from his rifle. The loud blast echoed across the canyon, startling the drones and buying a few seconds of advantage. "Get down," he shouted, his voice rough but commanding. The women ducked instinctively, rolling behind the remnants of the pod for cover. The drones advanced relentlessly, whirring and clattering across the sand, their sensors scanning for movement. Jonas leaped from his mount, rifle raised, and took careful shots, disabling one machine after another. Sparks flew as the drones collapsed into the sand, their circuits fried by his precise aim. The taller of the two women, with dark braids and sharp, intelligent eyes, glanced at him. Who are you?" she asked, breathless. "Name's Jonas," he said, keeping his eyes on the drones. "You folks in trouble?" The other woman, shorter but equally fierce, shook her head. "Yes and no. We can handle ourselves, usually. But these machines, someone turned them loose on us." Jonas narrowed his eyes. "Machines don't just attack on their own. Someone had to be controlling them or wanted them gone." His instincts screamed that this was bigger than a simple accident. He fired a few more precise shots, taking down the last drone as it lunged toward them. The desert fell silent again. The only sounds the wind whispering across the sand and the faint hum of the dying pod. The women stood slowly, brushing off the dust. Jonas noticed the confidence in their stance. They were not victims. Nayeli, the taller one, held her head high, her eyes sharp and calculating. Talisa, the shorter one, moved with quiet grace, scanning the horizon as if expecting more threats. "Thanks," Nayeli said cautiously. "We didn't ask for help, but that was impressive." Jonas shrugged, keeping his gaze on the horizon. "Impressive or necessary? You can't always fight everything on your own out here." Talisa looked at him carefully, as if weighing whether to trust him. After a tense moment, she nodded. "You're right. But these machines, someone sent them. We were investigating strange energy readings near this area. That's when it happened." Jonas's interest sharpened. Energy readings? That could explain the strange electromagnetic disturbances he had noticed earlier on his own travels. It seemed fate had guided him here, or maybe just luck. Either way, he knew better than to walk away from a mystery like this. "Then we need to figure out who sent them," Jonas said, lowering his rifle. "And why? You don't want to be wandering these sands alone if someone wants you gone." Nayeli exchanged a look with Talisa. "We can use your help," she admitted. "But you should know. Our home settlement is sacred land. Outsiders aren't usually welcomed." Jonas nodded. "I'm not here to steal anything. I'm just passing through. And I've got some experience handling problems like these." For a moment, the tension eased. The three of them stood in the scorching heat, silent except for the distant whisper of wind. Jonas noticed the sharp intelligence in the women's eyes, their strength, and their courage. He felt a strange stirring in his chest, an unfamiliar warmth he hadn't experienced in years. He pushed the thought aside. Right now, survival came first. As the sun dipped lower, painting the desert in brilliant reds and purples, Jonas helped the women assess the damaged pod. Its power core was unstable, sparking in uneven bursts. Nayeli and Talisa worked quickly, using portable tools to stabilize it temporarily. Jonas kept watch, scanning the horizon for any sign of more drones, or worse, the people who had sent them. Hours passed in tense silence. The suns disappeared beneath the horizon, leaving the desert bathed in twilight. Jonas felt the familiar chill of night settle over the sands. Nights on New Sonora were harsh, and dangerous creatures roamed when the heat died. "We can't stay here," Nayeli said finally, her voice low. "If they come back, we'll be sitting ducks." Jonas nodded. "Then we move. I know a route through the canyon system nearby. It's rough, but it'll give us cover and a chance to reach your settlement before dawn." Talisa glanced at him with a mixture of caution and relief. "You've got a good sense of direction. For a stranger." Jonas allowed himself a small grin. "Been wandering deserts my whole life. You learn to read the land. And I know trouble when I see it." They gathered their supplies and prepared to leave. Jonas mounted his hover horse, and the two women followed, their movements careful and deliberate. The desert night swallowed them, the stars overhead bright and cold. As they traveled, Jonas kept stealing glances at the sisters. They were more than just survivors. They were smart, capable, and brave. He felt a strange pull in his chest, a curiosity that went beyond mere survival, but he pushed it aside. Right now, their safety was what mattered. The first part of their journey was quiet, each lost in thought. Jonas thought about the strange machines, the sabotage, and the danger that still lurked. Nayeli and Talisa exchanged whispers in their own language, likely discussing strategy and plans. Jonas could only imagine what stories they carried, what history they bore with them through the desert. Suddenly, a faint hum rose in the distance. Jonas froze. He signaled for the women to stop. They crouched behind a ridge, watching as a faint glow pulsed on the horizon. The hum grew louder, mechanical, deliberate. "More machines," Jonas muttered under his breath. "Or something else." Nayeli tightened her grip on her device. Talisa raised her weapon. "We're ready," Nayeli said firmly. Jonas felt a mix of apprehension and determination. He had faced danger before, but this felt different. This wasn't just survival, it was something bigger, something that could change everything for these people, and maybe even for him. The night stretched on as the desert whispered its secrets. Jonas, tempered by years of hardship, stayed vigilant. He knew the journey ahead would be dangerous, but for the first time in a long while, he didn't feel completely alone. Beside him, two brave women moved with confidence and skill. And somewhere in the depths of the desert night, Jonas felt the first stirrings of something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The twin suns had set. But a new journey was beginning, one that would test courage, loyalty, and the heart itself. And Jonas Calder was ready to ride into it, no matter what lay ahead. The desert night was quiet, but it was a quiet full of danger. Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa moved cautiously through the canyon maze, their steps careful on the rough, jagged rocks. The faint hum of the machines they had left behind faded into the distance, but Jonas knew the attackers would not give up easily. Someone wanted the sisters and their people gone, and they were not likely to stop. Jonas led the way, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows for movement. He had been through many deserts in his life. But New Sonora was unlike any he had seen. The sand was harder, mixed with strange iron particles that glinted in the moonlight. The rocks themselves seemed older, worn by centuries of twin suns, and the canyon walls created tunnels of shadow and echo that could hide 100 threats. "Do you think they will come back?" Talisa asked softly, her voice barely above a whisper. She kept her weapon ready, though her movements were calm and practiced. "They might," Jonas said, "or they might be sending something worse. That's why we keep moving." Nayeli adjusted the device in her hands. It glowed faintly, scanning the area for electromagnetic disturbances. "The readings are stronger here," she said. "Whatever triggered the drones, it came from this direction." Jonas nodded. "Then that's our path. But we move slow. I don't like rushing into traps." For the next few hours, they followed the faint traces left in the sand tracks of machines and occasional sparks of energy that Nayeli could detect with her device. Each step felt heavier, not just from the weight of their supplies, but from the tension that grew in the night. Jonas noticed how alert the sisters were, constantly checking their surroundings, listening to the sounds of the desert. They were survivors, yes, but they were also fighters, and he respected that. "So," Jonas said after a while, breaking the silence, "you two were investigating these readings alone?" Nayeli looked at him, her eyes reflecting the dim starlight. "We have to. Our settlement depends on it. We can't let outsiders or mercenaries steal what belongs to our people. And these readings," Talisa added, "aren't normal. Something unnatural is happening beneath the desert. Machines shouldn't act like that unless someone is controlling them, or something alien is interfering." Jonas raised an eyebrow. "Alien? You mean like old world tech or something not from around here?" Nayeli nodded. "Old world tech, yes, but it's unlike anything we've seen before. These machines were ancient, buried beneath the sands for centuries. Whoever woke them, they are dangerous, and they know how to use the desert to their advantage." Jonas whistled softly. "That's trouble. Big trouble." They moved in silence again, each focused on their own thoughts. Jonas felt a strange connection growing with the sisters, not romantic yet, but a sense of trust. They were clever, brave, and unafraid of the harsh desert. In a world where most people ran from danger, these two stood in the face of it. As the night deepened, they came across a small, dried riverbed. Its cracked surface glinted under the moonlight, and the canyon walls created pockets of stillness in the air. Jonas stopped. "Wait. Something's not right." Talisa crouched next to him, eyes narrowing. "I see it. Tracks." Jonas knelt, examining the marks in the sand. They weren't human, or at least, not completely. Mechanical treads were mixed with claw-like impressions, as if the machines themselves had been altered or enhanced. The tracks led into a narrower canyon ahead, one Jonas had never explored. "This doesn't feel good," he muttered. Nayeli's device beeped softly. "The energy signature is stronger here. Whoever, or whatever is responsible is close. We need to be careful. Thank you for watching. This is a Combras Incommunicated by Imendadu 2L. Thank you for watching. Imendadu 2 watching. Thank you for watching. Imendadu 2L. Imendadu 2L. Jonas motioned for them to move silently. The canyon ahead was shadowed, the walls twisting and narrowing until it felt like the three of them were inside a giant tunnel of stone. The air was still, heavy with the smell of burned metal and dust. Suddenly, a faint light flickered on the canyon wall, a reflection of something metallic. Jonas froze. He raised his hand. "Drones. Or scouts. Stay hidden." The sisters crouched, barely breathing. Jonas's hand hovered over his rifle. The metallic light pulsed again. And then, it moved. Small, spider-like machines scuttled along the walls, their sensors glowing red as they scanned the canyon floor. Jonas fired a shot into one of them, sending sparks flying. The others froze for a moment before retreating into the shadows. They were just scouts, he whispered. Someone is watching us. Waiting. Nayeli frowned. We need to move faster. If they are guarding something, it could be the source of the readings. They pressed on, navigating the twisting canyon with care. Hours passed, and the dawn began to tint the horizon with pale gold. The desert light returned slowly, revealing the vast, jagged landscape around them. Jonas, who had seen many deserts, felt a strange awe at New Sonora. The harsh beauty of the land seemed to echo the strength of the sisters beside him. Finally, they reached a hidden plateau above the canyon. From here, they could see the remains of an abandoned mining valley below, half buried in sand and rock. Rusted machines, broken buildings, and strange towers dotted the valley floor. It was a place untouched for decades, yet something about it hummed with life. That's it, Nayeli said quietly. This is where the readings are strongest. Jonas scanned the valley. Looks deserted, but I don't like it. Too quiet. They descended carefully, moving among the ruins. The closer they got, the stronger the energy readings became. Nayeli's device buzzed in warning, and Talisa's weapon hummed with readiness. Then they saw it. A faint glow beneath a collapsed building. Sparks of alien energy flickered through cracks in the walls. Jonas approached cautiously, and Nayeli knelt to examine the structure. This isn't just old tech, she said softly. Someone is actively using it. And it's dangerous. Jonas felt a chill run down his spine. He had faced many threats in his life, but this was something else. Someone had not only reactivated ancient machines, but was using them for their own gain. The sisters looked at him, determination in their eyes. We have to stop them, Talisa said firmly. Before more drones are sent to hunt us or our settlement. Jonas nodded. Agreed. But first, we need a plan. Charging in blindly will get us killed. They spent the next hour studying the area, mapping the ruins, and planning their approach. Jonas taught the sisters a few tricks he had learned in the desert, using cover, timing movements, and predicting mechanical behavior. In return, Nayeli and Talisa shared their knowledge of technology, showing Jonas how to read energy traces and detect hidden machinery. For Jonas, it was a rare feeling. Working with people who were just as capable, just as resourceful, and just as determined as he was. He felt respect for them growing with each passing moment, and, unexpectedly, a gentle warmth in his chest, a sense of connection he hadn't felt in years. As the sun rose higher, casting harsh light across the valley, Jonas looked at the sisters. We move at first light, he said. We hit the source, find whoever is controlling these machines, and stop them. Nayeli nodded, her eyes sharp and focused. We can do this. Together. Talisa added. And if we survive, maybe we can finally protect our settlement. Jonas smiled faintly. Then let's make sure we do. The three of them set up a temporary hide, blending into the ruins. They were close enough to see the source, yet hidden enough to avoid detection. The day would be long and dangerous, but Jonas felt a strange confidence. With these two women, anything seemed possible. And somewhere deep in the desert, among the twisted ruins and humming machines, Jonas sensed that the real challenge was only just beginning. The machines had awakened. But so had something else, the courage, skill, and heart of three humans standing together against the unknown. The sun climbed higher, burning down on the valley below. And Jonas Calder, tempered by years of survival, felt ready to face whatever came next. The desert stretched endlessly around them. But for the first time in a long while, Jonas didn't feel alone. He had allies. He had purpose, and he had the quiet stirrings of hope and something more in his heart. The journey through the iron sands had only just begun, but already, it was clear. Survival would demand courage, intelligence, and trust. And the trio was ready to give it all. The canyon stretched before them, dark and silent. Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa, moved carefully among the jagged rocks, their footsteps muffled by the soft sand. The abandoned mining valley below had grown brighter in the morning sun, revealing more details of the twisted ruins. Rusted machines lay scattered across the ground, some half-buried, others still humming faintly with residual energy. "This place feels wrong," Jonas muttered, scanning the ruins. "Machines buried for decades shouldn't be moving. But somehow, they are." Nayeli adjusted her device. "They're being reactivated remotely. Someone is controlling them." She frowned. "And it's not just for observation. These machines are aggressive, programmed to attack anything approaching." Talisa tightened her grip on her weapon. "Then we need to be smart. We can't fight them all at once." Jonas nodded. "Agreed. We move in small groups, strike fast, and keep our distance. Let's see what we're dealing with before we make a big move." The trio began to navigate the ruins cautiously. Broken towers loomed above them like the skeletons of giants, and the rusted remnants of mining machines jutted from the sand like sharp teeth. Every shadow seemed alive. Jonas had learned long ago that silence could hide danger, and every instinct in his body screamed that they were being watched. Suddenly, a low mechanical whir echoed through the canyon. Jonas froze, signaling the others to stop. From behind a collapsed building, a small group of spider-like drones emerged. Their sensors glowing red, they moved quickly, scanning the area for movement. Jonas fired a warning shot, hitting one squarely in its central sensor. Sparks flew, and the machine collapsed to the sand with a high-pitched screech. Nayeli and Talisa flanked him, taking cover behind the ruins. "These are just scouts," Jonas whispered. "The main group is probably close." Sure enough, as they moved deeper into the canyon, a faint hum began to grow, a sound like 1,000 tiny gears spinning in unison. Ahead, partially buried under a collapsed wall, they saw it. A cluster of machines, some ancient, some modified, all pulsing with energy. Their movements were chaotic, almost alive. "They're more than just machines," Nayeli said in awe. "Someone modified them. Look at the patterns they're learning, adapting." Jonas felt a chill run down his spine. "Adaptive machines? That's trouble. We can't fight them all head-on. We need a plan." The trio moved to a higher vantage point on a narrow ledge overlooking the machines. From here, they could see more of the valley below. Amid the ruins, human figures moved carefully, coordinating the machines. Mercenaries tall, heavily armed, and dangerous were guiding the drones, their equipment glinting in the morning sun. "They're organized," Talisa whispered. "We're not just dealing with rogue machines. Someone is controlling them, and probably knows this valley better than we do." Jonas studied them carefully. "Then we hit smart, not hard. We use their machines against them." Nayeli's eyes lit up. "I can hack into the energy nodes. If I create an EMP pulse, we can disable some of the machines temporarily. That should give us a window to act." "And I'll..." Jonas grinned faintly. "Good. And I'll handle the rest with cover fire and misdirection. Talisa, you take the high ground. Your sharpshooting will be key." The plan was set. They moved into position, hearts racing. Nayeli worked quickly, her fingers flying over the device. Sparks flickered, and the machines below twitched, their sensors glowing erratically. Jonas kept his rifle ready, scanning for any sign of movement. Talisa climbed higher, finding a vantage point that gave her a clear line of sight on the mercenaries. "Now," Jonas whispered. Nayeli pressed the final command. A pulse of energy surged from her device, sending a wave through the machines. Sparks flew, and several drones collapsed to the sand. Their circuits fried, the mercenaries shouted in frustration, trying to regain control. Jonas seized the moment. He fired precise shots, disabling another cluster of machines. Talisa picked off mercenaries who tried to escape or regain control, her aim deadly and accurate. "Keep moving," Jonas shouted. "We can't let them regroup." The trio advanced carefully, using the ruins for cover. The mercenaries were trained, but they were not prepared for the combined skill of Jonas and the sisters. Each step forward was a battle of wit, strategy, and courage. Suddenly, one of the larger machines, a towering construct with multiple limbs and glowing red sensors, activated fully. It moved with terrifying speed toward the trio. Jonas didn't hesitate. He fired at its legs, causing it to stumble. Nayeli targeted the energy nodes on its back, while Talisa provided covering fire. The machine collapsed with a thunderous crash, shaking the canyon floor. The remaining mercenaries realized they were losing control. Jonas and the sisters pressed their advantage, forcing them to retreat toward the center of the valley. The adaptive machines faltered, confused by the sudden EMP interference and the precise attacks. Breathing heavily, Jonas signaled a temporary halt. "We've got a window. We can push forward and find the source. That's our main target." Nayeli nodded, wiping sweat from her brow. "It's in that collapsed mining tower. The energy readings are strongest there. Whoever controls it is probably inside." They approached the tower cautiously. The entrance was partially blocked by debris, but Jonas found a narrow path leading inside. The air was thick with dust and a faint metallic smell. Sparks flickered from broken wiring along the walls. Every step they took echoed ominously, making them aware of the danger at every turn. Inside, the tower was a mix of old machinery and newly installed technology. Holographic screens flickered, showing data streams that Jonas couldn't fully understand. In the center, a control console pulsed with energy, and beside it, a figure moved, one of the mercenaries, wearing a strange suit that interfaced with the machines. "This must be the controller," Talisa whispered. Jonas nodded. "Then, we end this now." Nayeli moved closer to the console, her hands working quickly. "I can overload it," she said, "but it will trigger an alarm. We need to be ready." Jonas took position near the entrance, rifle raised. Talisa climbed a support beam, ready to take out anyone who approached. Nayeli's fingers danced across the controls, sending signals into the system. Sparks flew as the machines below twitched violently, some collapsing, others going haywire. The mercenary noticed immediately. "Stop them!" he shouted, activating defensive protocols. Machines surged back to life, moving to attack Jonas and the sisters. Jonas fired rapidly, taking down drones that came too close. Talisa's shots were precise, cutting down enemies as they tried to intercept Nayeli. Sparks and energy arcs filled the air, casting chaotic shadows across the walls. Finally, Nayeli triggered the overload. The main console exploded in a shower of sparks, and the remaining machines went silent. The mercenary fell to his knees, defeated, his control over the valley destroyed. Breathing heavily, Jonas looked around. "Is everyone okay?" Nayeli nodded, her hands trembling slightly. "Yes. The machines are down. But we need to check the rest of the valley. There may be more threats." Talisa glanced around. "They won't give up easily. Whoever sent them will regroup. But for now, we've won." Jonas felt a rare smile cross his face. "Good work, both of you. Smart, fast, and brave. That's the way to win in this desert." They spent the next hour checking the ruins, ensuring that no hidden machines or mercenaries remained. Jonas admired the sisters' skill and courage, Nayeli's intelligence and quick thinking. Talisa's sharp aim and tactical mind. It was a combination he had rarely seen in one person, let alone two. As the sun climbed higher, painting the canyon in gold and red, Jonas allowed himself a moment to breathe. They had survived. They had fought. And they had discovered the source of the danger. But more than that, he felt a growing connection with the sisters. Their courage, their intelligence, their unwavering determination, it stirred something deep in him, a warmth he had not felt in years. Nayeli approached him, her device now quiet. "We need to take this information back to the settlement. They need to know someone tried to attack them. And we stopped it." Jonas nodded. "Agreed. And I'll help you get back safely. We're not done yet. But for now, we survived the canyon." Talisa smiled faintly. "And we made an ally in the process." Jonas looked at the sisters, two strong, capable humans who had faced impossible danger and survived. He felt a quiet pride, not just in their victory, but in the strength of humans who could work together, adapt, and rise above the challenges of the unknown. The canyon behind them was silent again, the ghost machines lying still in the sand. But Jonas knew the desert was never truly quiet. Danger would return, as it always did, and when it did, they would face it together. For now, they had survived. And for the first time in a long while, Jonas felt a sense of belonging. The desert had tested him, but he had found allies, purpose, and something stirring in his heart, something more than survival. As they prepared to leave the canyon and head back toward the settlement, Jonas glanced at the sisters. Nayeli's eyes met his, sharp and intelligent. Talisa's gaze was steady and confident, and for a moment, in the shadow of the canyon and under the burning suns of New Sonora, Jonas realized something important. Human courage, intelligence, and heart could overcome even the most terrifying machines. Together, they would face whatever came next. The journey back to the settlement was long, and the desert stretched endlessly around them. Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa moved cautiously, scanning the horizon for signs of returning mercenaries or rogue machines. The sun beat down harshly during the day, and the nights were cold and unforgiving. Every step reminded them that the desert was alive and dangerous, but also beautiful in its harsh, unforgiving way. Jonas rode at the front, leading the way with practiced vigilance. The sisters moved close, each keeping a careful eye on their surroundings. Despite the exhaustion from the previous day's battle, their determination was strong. Each of them knew that the safety of the settlement depended on their success. "We need to get back before the mercenaries regroup," Jonas said, breaking the silence. "If they find out the machines are gone, they'll come back stronger. And faster." Talisa nodded. "We have to warn the elders. They need to know what's coming. And we need a plan to defend the settlement." "I?" Nayeli checked her device one last time. "The energy readings are fading, but not gone. Whoever controlled the machines may have left a signal. They could return if they find a way." Jonas tightened his grip on the reins of his hover horse. The settlement appeared in the distance as the twin suns began to set, casting long shadows across the dunes. Small, low buildings and defensive walls made of metal and stone marked the edges of the community. From here, Jonas could see the people moving about, tending to daily tasks, unaware of the danger that had just unfolded beyond the desert. Nayeli's eyes softened at the sight. "We have to protect them. This is their home, and they've worked hard to survive here." Jonas felt a rare warmth in his chest. The desert had been lonely for him, full of endless horizons and danger. But here, among these people, he saw purpose. Protecting them was more than duty, it was a reason to be strong. As they entered the settlement, the elders quickly noticed the trio's arrival. Word of the desert battle spread fast, and whispers of the danger they had faced traveled ahead. The elders gathered, their expressions grave but relieved to see the sisters safe. "Jonas Calder," one elder said, voice calm but firm, "you have faced what we could not. And these machines, they were not ordinary. You have our thanks." Jonas nodded respectfully. "I did what I could, but they will return if we don't prepare. We need to fortify the settlement and plan for their next move." The elders exchanged glances, then nodded. "We will do what is needed. Our people are ready. And with you here, Jonas, we may have a chance." Over the next several hours, Jonas worked with the sisters and the settlement's defenders. They moved quickly, reinforcing walls, setting up traps, and organizing teams to monitor the perimeter. Nayeli explained the technology she had discovered, teaching others how to detect unusual energy readings and disable small rogue machines. Talisa instructed groups in sharpshooting techniques and positioning to maximize defense. Jonas watched as the community came together, their combined efforts forming a strong, resilient front. He felt pride not only in their skills but in their spirit, the same spirit that had allowed humans to survive harsh deserts alien worlds, and countless dangers over the centuries. As night fell, the settlement was quiet but prepared. Fires flickered along the walls, casting long shadows across the sand. Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa stood atop a small watchtower, scanning the horizon. "They'll come back," Jonas said, voice low. "And next time, they'll bring more than drones." Nayeli's fingers hovered over her device. "We can detect their approach early, and with traps in place, we can slow them down. We have a chance." Talisa's gaze was steady. "And we'll be ready to fight. We've survived worse, haven't we?" Jonas smiled faintly. "Yes, we have. And together, we're stronger than anything out there." Hours passed, the twin moons of New Sonora rising over the desert. Suddenly, a faint shimmer appeared on the horizon. Movement in the sand, barely visible in the moonlight. Jonas tensed. "They're coming." The settlement sprang into action. Alarms rang softly, signaling defenders to their positions. Families moved inside protective shelters, while trained fighters took up arms along the walls. Nayeli's device tracked the energy readings of approaching machines, giving early warning of any threats. Talisa stood on the main wall, weapon ready, eyes scanning the desert for movement. Jonas positioned himself at the center of the defense line, rifle ready. "Stay calm. Stay focused. Remember your training. We survive together, or we don't survive at all." The first wave appeared drones, small but numerous, moving quickly toward the settlement. Sparks flew as the traps set earlier were triggered. Jonas fired precise shots, taking down drones that slipped past the defenses. Talisa's aim was deadly, each shot neutralizing a threat before it could reach the walls. Nayeli monitored energy pulses, alerting the defenders to new machines approaching from unexpected angles. The attackers were clever, but the settlement was ready. Every trap, every precaution, every plan worked in concert, turning the desert against the intruders. Hours passed in a tense, exhausting battle. The machines adapted, trying new approaches, but the defenders adapted faster. Jonas moved like a shadow through the chaos, covering gaps, assisting where needed, and inspiring confidence in those around him. Nayeli's quick thinking kept the energy nodes under control, while Talisa's sharpshooting prevented any machines from reaching the heart of the settlement. Finally, as dawn broke over the desert, the last of the attackers was defeated. Smoke rose from the destroyed machines, and the remaining mercenaries fled, realizing they could not overcome the human ingenuity and determination they faced. Jonas lowered his rifle, breathing heavily. The settlement had survived, stronger than before. He looked at Nayeli and Talisa, both exhausted but unbroken. "We did it," he said quietly. "Together, we did it." Nayeli smiled faintly. "We protected our people. And we proved that no matter how advanced the machines, humans can adapt, survive, and fight back," Talisa added. "And we learned that courage isn't just about strength. It's about planning, teamwork, and trust. We trusted each other, and that made all the difference." Jonas felt a deep sense of pride. He had wandered the desert alone for so long, facing danger with only his own skills. But here, among these people, he saw the true power of humanity, not just survival, but cooperation, intelligence, and courage. As the settlement began to recover, Jonas found himself drawn to the sisters. Their bravery and skill had impressed him. But more than that, their spirit reminded him of something he had lost long ago: hope. He had spent years wandering, unsure of purpose. But now he felt a renewed sense of belonging. That evening, as the sun set over the desert, Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa stood together atop the highest watchtower. The settlement stretched below them, alive with people preparing for the day ahead. The twin suns had set, but the warmth of human spirit shone brighter than any star. Jonas looked at the sisters, feeling something he had not expected: gratitude, admiration, and something stirring in his heart. "We survived," he said softly. and we'll survive whatever comes next. Together. Nayeli's eyes met his. We have to. For our people, and for ourselves, Talisa nodded. And when we stand together, no danger is too great. The desert wind blew gently over them, carrying the scent of sand and metal, and a quiet promise. Humans would endure, adapt, and protect what they loved. They would fight not for conquest, but for survival, for community, and for the bonds that made them human. Jonas realized that he was no longer just a wanderer, a tempered cowboy drifting through endless deserts. He was part of something larger, part of a community, part of a team, part of a fight worth giving everything for. And more than that, he had discovered a connection he hadn't felt in years, a bond of trust, respect, and something quietly stirring in his heart. As the twin moons rose over New Sonora, casting silver light over the settlement, Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa prepared for whatever came next. The battle had been won, but the journey was far from over, and together, they knew they could face anything the desert and the universe threw at them. For the first time in a long while, Jonas felt at home, and in the heart of the desert, he knew one thing for certain. Humans were strongest when they stood together, and courage, intelligence, and heart could overcome even the greatest challenges. The settlement was quiet under the rising twin suns. Smoke from the previous day's battle lingered in the air, but the people were already tending to their homes and repairs. The desert, harsh and unforgiving, had tested them, but they had survived. More than that, they had proven that courage, intelligence, and cooperation could triumph over even the most terrifying challenges. Jonas walked among the settlers, helping repair walls and check defensive measures. His hands were rough from years of frontier life, and his eyes were sharp, scanning for any sign of danger. But as he worked, he noticed something he hadn't expected. Smiles, laughter, and a quiet sense of community that filled the air. For the first time in years, he felt connected not just to people, but to a purpose larger than himself. Nayeli and Talisa moved beside him, coordinating repairs and instructing younger members of the settlement on how to fortify their homes. They had been through danger and survived, and now their calm determination inspired everyone around them. Jonas couldn't help but admire them not just for their courage, but for the way they carried themselves, confident and strong. Jonas, Nayeli said, pausing to wipe sweat from her brow. I can't believe we made it. That canyon, those machines. It felt like we were facing the impossible. Jonas smiled faintly. We weren't just facing machines. We were facing people who underestimated what humans can do when they work together. And we proved them wrong. Talisa laughed softly. I have to admit, I didn't expect an outsider like you to help so much. But you fit right in. Jonas felt a warmth rise in his chest. He had wandered for so long, unsure where he belonged. But here, with these people, and these two brave sisters, he realized he had found a place he could call home. That evening, the elders called a meeting. The settlement gathered in a large central courtyard, the remnants of the battle visible around them. Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa stood at the center, the eyes of the community upon them. You have done more than survive, one elder said, voice steady and proud. You have protected our people, our land, and our way of life. You have shown courage, intelligence, and strength that cannot be measured by machines or weapons alone. For that, we are grateful. Nayeli stepped forward, her voice clear. We could not have done it alone. Jonas and I, Talisa too, we worked together. And together, we succeeded. The strength of this community comes from unity. And that is what protected us. Jonas felt a lump in his throat. He wasn't used to such praise, but it was genuine, earned, and humbling. The desert is harsh, he said quietly. But humans are stronger when they stand together. That's what matters. As the crowd dispersed, Jonas found himself walking beside the sisters. The sun had set, and the desert sky was painted in brilliant shades of orange and purple. Stars twinkled above, silent witnesses to the trials and triumphs below. Nayeli looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "Jonas, you've changed the outcome here. Not just with your skill, but with your presence. You reminded us that courage isn't just about fighting. It's about heart, trust, and standing together." Jonas smiled faintly. "I've wandered a long time. I thought I was alone. But you reminded me that humans are never truly alone if they care enough to stand together." Talisa joined them, her gaze steady. "And sometimes, you find more than allies. You find people who inspire you, who challenge you, who make you feel something you didn't know was missing." Jonas's heart stirred, an unfamiliar warmth filling him. It wasn't just admiration or respect, it was something deeper. A connection he hadn't expected to feel again. He looked at Nayeli and Talisa, both brave, intelligent, and strong. He realized that he had found a part of himself he had lost in years of wandering. Hope, belonging, and the quiet possibility of love. The desert night deepened, stars scattered like diamonds across the sky. Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa stood together on a dune overlooking the settlement. The wind carried the scent of sand, metal, and the quiet promise of a safe future. Jonas spoke softly, almost to himself. "I never thought I'd feel this way again. But standing here, with both of you, it feels like I've come home." Nayeli smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Home isn't just a place. It's the people you stand with, the bonds you build, and the courage to protect what you love." Talisa nodded. "And we've built something stronger than fear. We've built trust, respect, and a community that can face anything." For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the settlement below. The twin moons cast silver light over the dunes, and the desert seemed peaceful for the first time in weeks. But they all knew that danger could return, that the universe was vast and unpredictable. Yet, in that moment, they also knew that whatever came, they would face it together. The next day, life in the settlement returned to a rhythm. Repairs were completed, defenses reinforced, and children played among the dunes, their laughter echoing in the valleys. Jonas helped teach defensive tactics, using his years of experience to train the next generation. Nayeli focused on technology, showing young learners how to understand energy systems and avoid danger. Talisa taught marksmanship and strategy, ensuring the community could defend itself if needed. Through it all, Jonas felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had wandered the desert as a lone cowboy, tempered by hardship, unsure of purpose. Now, he had allies, friends, and a community depending on him. More than that, he had discovered something stirring in his heart, a sense of belonging, a spark of hope, and a quiet love that grew with each passing day. One evening, as the twin suns set and the desert sky glowed in orange and purple, Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa climbed a dune together. They watched the horizon, the settlement safe below them, and the desert calm. Jonas turned to the sisters. "We've survived the machines, the mercenaries, and the desert. But the most important thing is what we've built here. Trust, courage, and connection. That's what makes humans strong." Nayeli smiled. "And you've reminded us of it, Jonas. You didn't just fight with skill, you reminded us of heart." Talisa added, "We've faced danger together. And through it, we've found something worth protecting and worth fighting for." Jonas felt a warmth in his chest that went beyond pride or relief. It was the realization that humans thrived not just through survival, but through community, trust, and courage. He had spent years wandering, alone and tempered by hardship. Now, he had found purpose, allies, and the beginnings of something deeper, something he hadn't allowed himself to hope for. As the stars emerged, twinkling across the vast desert sky, Jonas reached out and clasped the hands of Nayeli and Talisa. "Whatever comes next," he said softly, "we face it together. And I won't be wandering alone anymore." The sisters smiled, their expressions a mixture of warmth, understanding, and quiet affection. Together, they looked at the stars. The desert stretched endlessly around them, and for the first time in a long while, Jonas felt truly at peace. The desert had tested them all, but humanity had triumphed. Courage, intelligence, and heart had won. And in the quiet of the night, beneath the twin moons of New Sonora, Jonas realized something important. Survival was not enough. Humans thrived when they protected each other, when they trusted, when they cared, and when they allowed themselves to feel. Jonas had been a tempered cowboy, hardened by life and the desert. But now, he was more than that. He was a protector, a friend, and someone capable of love. The desert had shaped him, but the people he had saved and who had saved him in turn had completed him. As dawn approached, casting golden light across the dunes, the settlement stood proud, safe, and ready for the future. Jonas, Nayeli, and Talisa watched together, hearts full of courage, hope, and connection. The desert was vast, unpredictable, and dangerous. But with trust, intelligence, and heart, humans could face anything. And Jonas Calder, tempered by years of hardship, had found what he had been searching for all along: home, purpose, and a heart stirred by courage and love. The twin suns rose again, bathing the settlement in warm light. The desert was still harsh, but humanity, resilient, brave, and united, had triumphed. And beneath the desert stars, a tempered cowboy knew one truth clearly. Together, humans could endure, survive, and thrive. And in that unity, hearts could awaken, connections could flourish, and hope could shine brighter than any twin suns in the sky.